I recently got back from a vacation at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and I've got some personal security tips I'd like to share with you. When you go into Disney, they're going to search your bags and your strollers. And they don't want to find any guns or knives, not even pocket knives. So if you've got a pocket knife in your backpack, they're going to ask you to take it back to the car. Interesting thing to me is that they will not search your person. They won't go through your pockets. They won't ask you to empty your pockets, and they won't pat you down. Just understand that when you buy the ticket to enter into Disney, you're agreeing to their terms and conditions. Disney is a private party, and they're allowing you to come onto their property so long as you abide by certain conditions. And one of them is that you will not bring a gun, and another is that you won't take a knife. There's always the possibility of some sort of violence or, some crackpot going off, getting drunk, and start annoying people. If you're in an amusement park, you're probably going to be there with your wife and kids, and it's no time to get engaged in a situation like that. What you need to do then is be alert, look for these things happening, and avoid them. It's possible, I suppose, that there could one day be a wacko starts taking shots at other people at Disney. Those events are actually very unlikely to happen. Every one of them that occurs makes the news because it's sensational. What you're far more likely to deal with is losing your kid, getting separated from your group, or having a medical emergency. So those are the things you need to prepare for. Let's take a look at a couple things you can do to abate those risks, all right? Number one, losing your kid. Every day, when you get your kid dressed, take your cell phone, take a photograph of the kid with the backpack on and whatever he or she is wearing. And that way, if you lose your kid, you can take it to Disney personnel and show them a photograph. Another thing you should do is get a Sharpie and write down on your kid's arm, write down your cell phone number. And I use a silver or gold Sharpie, not a black one because it's kind of ugly, especially on a little girl. And that way, if she gets lost, she can show people. That's what I call my dad. Also, give your kid instructions as to whom they should speak with. So the first thing we did when we got on Disney property is I showed the kids who are the Disney staff. And you show them the uniform and then take them through a drill a couple times, Say, okay, stop, look around, do you see any Disney personnel? Any Disney staff? And then have them find the Disney staff. Okay, so if you were lost, you'd go find that person. Disney has the best, most competent and friendly private security personnel I've seen anywhere. Way better than government security. They have been trained to be very sensitive to help maintain the Disney fantasy experience. Okay, people go to Disney with their kids to enter this fantasy world where everything is light and sparkly and fun. And so when something bad happens, they've become really good at dealing with the situation without drawing a lot of attention to it. So for instance, I saw somebody, who knows what it was, but in any event, this person collapsed and EMS was called. I showed up right about the time EMS was getting there. They did not show up with flashing lights and blaring sirens. They were very unobtrusive. They arrived in an electric cart with a bed on it, kind of like what you see at the football game to take off the injured. There were 4 people. 2 of them were EMS, and they attended the sick person. And then there were 2 people at the corners, and you just naturally kind of had to walk around. They were wearing the same Disney uniform as anybody else. I can tell you, having stood there and observed until they left, that most people who walked by were not even aware that there was anything happening right there. It was very unobtrusive, handled very well, quietly, calmly. They are experts at managing a situation like this without drawing a lot of attention to it or causing a ruckus. If you ever have a medical emergency, if you collapse and EMS arrives on the scene, they're going to check your wallet. So you can go to the blog and get a copy of this form to give you some ideas. Make up your own or use the form I provide. In big letters, you want to have medical so they can see that. So this is just a fictitious person. This contains medical information that doesn't give away a lot of biometrics about yourself that are not relevant to EMS, okay? So it doesn't have your bank account numbers and it doesn't have your social security number. It just has the kind of information that EMS needs to be able to address your medical condition right now. If you're a diabetic, have that right up here in yellow. If you have a penicillin allergy, put that right there. If you have any other medical condition that is critical for them to know, put it up here at the top and then use a yellow highlighter. Next thing you want to do is have your name, your nickname, okay, date of birth. An identity thief would love to know your exact date of birth. Just put the year. If you want, even go a year off, because all they need to know is your approximate age. It helps them rule out certain possible conditions. Go ahead and put your address. It's a matter of public record anyway. Emergency contact. This is very important. Probably the number one you should have is your spouse. Put her name or his name, the relation, and contact information. Cell phone and address. You want your spouse's local address so they can reach her quickly. If you're down there with other families, be sure and include one of those families. Okay, friend, cell phone, and address right there at Disney. If there is somebody who has the legal authority to make medical decisions about you, include that person. Next thing you need to have is a medical summary. This doesn't have to be extremely detailed. You're going to get that later when you're recovering in the hospital. They're going to take a full history. This just needs to be a summary. You need current medications, anything you take now. Medical conditions, diabetes and hypertension, or if you have cancer, whatever your condition is that is a serious condition you're dealing with now, include that. Any surgeries you might have had, list that. Family history. All you need in the family history for this kind of a summary in your wallet is siblings and then parents and grandparents. For women, indicate how many times you've been pregnant. That's very important for them to know. If you know it, include your blood type up here at the top, blood type. All right, there is other relevant information that you might be too embarrassed to include on a form like this because somebody might find it. Somebody might come across this that you don't want them to know that you've had an STD, for instance, okay? Or that you suffer from alcohol abuse, that you're addicted to painkillers, whatever. Those are relevant. And if you don't mind, include it. Main thing is they need to know what conditions you have. They need to be able to reach somebody. They need to know your blood type. And they need a brief summary of your family medical history. Hey, if you go to the blog, survivalnewsonline.com, I'll have some other forms there that you can use in your vehicles and to help coordinate with other people in emergency situations. Forms that will be not of this type, but that will include more sensitive information like, survival cache locations, GPS coordinates for, certain things that you want to hide from most people, but you want to be able to disclose to others. All right, so go to the blog, get this information. I'll see you there.